It's one thing to say that alcohol affects driving, but it's another thing to actually see how alcohol affects driving. Let's take a look at how alcohol actually affects driving.
To seek to determine how drivers perform at different BACs, an experiment was conducted by Texas A&M University Center for Alcohol and Drug Education Studies. Instructors from the Texas A&M University's Driver Skill Enhancement Program designed 6 different maneuvers. These involve judgment, fine muscle coordination, and reaction time. All participants received comprehensive training in every phase of the experiment. The simple driving maneuvers, T-turn, blocked lane, and slalom were learned quickly. The more complex maneuvers required additional training. The skid pad exercise involved the instructor locking the brakes to cause a skid and having the driver seek to recover from the skid. The crash simulator involved a response to a traffic light, which designates the lane into which the vehicle should be steered. After a complete day of training, all participants were tested in a sober condition. Breath tests were given to determine that all drivers had BACs of .00 prior to starting the experiment. A detailed scoring procedure was used to provide data on driver ability while sober, so that it could be compared with later results on the drinking runs. After all sober pre-tests were completed, the participants in the drinking group began to consume alcoholic beverages of their choice. All drinking was closely monitored to determine the time and amount consumed by each person. When it was estimated that a .04 BAC was reached, drinking participants took both breath and blood tests given by licensed DPS chemists and medical technicians. Before going back to the course, drivers were asked how they would perform.
I feel confident.
Well, I hope I do all right.
I feel all right.
I am going to do horrible on my next driving test.
Oh, I don't think I'm going to do very well in the driving test. Your reflexes, they don't reflect.
Drivers had difficulty performing the same exercises they did successfully while sober. Because of this, the volunteers were asked to consume additional alcohol so that tests could be run when they had reached higher BAC levels. This was done, and the BAC and all tests were repeated. The test runs at the higher BAC levels showed a significant decline in performance compared to those of low BAC levels, although losses of ability had been found at the .04 level. While many drivers reacted quickly to the emergency situations, they could not perform the maneuver successfully. Their judgment and handling skills were greatly impaired as compared to sober trials. This was especially apparent in the skid pad and auto control exercises, where small judgment and handling errors produced great loss of control.
So you're going to go straight up the hill, and you're going to stop in the box like we did before.
That box over there.
Yeah, but now it's over here.
What?
Cameras were installed inside the vehicles to record the actions and comments of drivers as they performed the exercises after drinking.
The one thing I've noticed myself is my reaction time is slower. A lot slower.
All right. Best I did yet. Okay.
Fly out.
How'd that one go?
I think I ran over somebody back there.
The drinking group also had performance losses on balance, steadiness, reaction time,
2020. 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024, 2024, 5.
Okay, you may stop.
Results of this study demonstrated that at BACs of .04, which is 1/2 the legal limit, drivers have a difficult time handling all driving situations, but especially those which require quick decisions and fine motor skills. The group scores on the complex skills declined an average of 13% at .04 BAC, 17% at .07, and 24% at .10 BAC, while the control group's ability was unchanged. Losses were less apparent at .04 for the simpler tasks, but were evident by the time .07 BAC had been reached. Although not all drinking drivers' abilities declined equally, all performed worse than they did in a sober condition. Fortunately, no one was hurt due to the mistakes of these drivers who drove after drinking.